YouTube Ozic going the Goat House is back with Week 10 score predictions, predicting the score to every single game. Also against the spread picks for every single game. We do this every single Wednesday. Straight up picks with the other guys already up for this week. Check it out. Power rankings already up. Trade deadline videos last week kind of have that mid-season content rolling out as well. Recent playoff predictions up on the channel. Always more to come as well. So like, subscribe to notifications on. Follow us on Twitter. A lot going on there. Twitter subs get bonus content. Links pinned in the comments for that. And our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, always rocking GLD's jewelry. They have NFL pendants and more. Giveaway going on with them. Links down below. Thursday night football, Panthers, Bears. I'm going to go the Bears in a squeaker, 19-17. Some key Panthers going to be out. Brian Burns going to be out. DJ Chark is doubtful. I guess he hasn't been that key this year. Another big moment for Bryce Young, an opportunity to do pretty well. I thought last week was one he struggled a bit. I think he should play better this week. Two defenses here that have been playing better than expected recently. They've both been picking it up. Montez Sweat was a recent addition for the Bears. I think this is a game where he could get going. Really can, because he didn't play his total amount of snaps last week that he possibly can play. So this week, against Panthers O-line, which isn't the worst on the planet, but it's not the best on the planet, and Bryce Young, who takes some sacks, I think we'll see Sweat have a pretty good game, and people kind of could get excited about that addition. So, and a lot of revenge game chances here from, looking at DJ Moore, Deontay Foreman for the Chicago Bears. So, maybe that could play a part. I think DJ Moore is a solid game. We still don't know if Fields is playing or not. I would prefer him to play. For them to feel more comfortable with them winning, but I'll take Chicago. They seem to play well on Thursday night, and they're at home in this one. Going to be a little chilly out there. 19-17 Bears is what I have. First time picking them this year. Next, Colts and Patriots in Germany. I guess you could just kind of see an upset happening here, but the line is only 1.5, so Vegas kind of thinks the same thing, but Colts are just the better team this year. I think there's going to be it's really going to come down to who makes that extra play on defense, which maybe the Patriots are more likely, Bill Belichick defense, but also who's more likely to control the clock and pound the football, make that extra play on the ground. And I'm going to trust, that's what the Colts do best. So I'm going to trust them on the ground, Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss in this game. So go with the Colts 24-20, but could be a good game. It seems like the Colts defense has struggled recently, minus the Panthers game. They played really well, but so Patriots, Mac Jones, they're going to have to do a little bit more through the year. They're going to have to do a little bit more. Ramondre Stevenson is going to have a game like he did last week, but the Colts are just playing better football here, so I will take them 24-20, the early morning Germany game on Sunday. Next, Texans Bengals. This is not one I would touch, and we'll recap my against the spread picks at the end like we always do, but this is not one I would bet on. It's a big line, and it maybe feels a little too big, but I have it as a 6-point game, so right around that range. I could see the Bengals covering as well. I could see the Texans winning. I'm not really counting on it, obviously, but I could see that. Bengals are balling right now. They're at home. Texans defense struggled a bit last week, which is surprising how much they struggle. I think Joe Burrow and company will do enough in that game to win. The Bengals defense, they'll mix up their coverages a bit. They're pretty solid, so it's going to be a little more difficult for Stroud than the Bucs game last week, but I still think he'll play all right. But 26-20 Bengals is what I got. 7 seems like a bit, but at the same time I have the Bengals winning by 6, so that's not one I would be interested at all in betting on there. So, this is a big game for both these teams. Bengals got to kind of keep it going, like one of the hottest teams in the AFC, not the hottest team, but one of the hottest teams, but keep it going. If the Texans could win this game, I think, if they can win this game, the playoff chances shoot way up. Like, they're still got a solid shot. They could win around 10 games. It's possible. They can win 10 games and miss the playoffs. That's actually possible as well. But if they win this one, if they steal this one in Cincinnati, the Texans should be making the playoffs. They should be. So, it could be a good game there. 26-20 Bengals, what I got. Saints, Vikings, tough one to pick. I got the Vikings 19-17. I think more defense in this game. The Saints offense has been playing better, even though it was not as good as I expected against the Bears last week. But since the second half of the Jags game, it's been playing better, but I don't know if it's better for good. I still think we're going to have those hiccups. And the Vikings defense has played well this year. A lot of zone coverage with blitzes. It's really tough for some quarterbacks to deal with. And Carr will take some sacks. I think that'll happen in this game. It's a similar matchup to the Bucs game, which was quite a few weeks ago, but the Saints really struggled with them. It's a similar matchup here. How will Dobbs do in the second game? I mean, you can argue either way. More time to prepare, more time to learn. He could be better. Or, there wasn't much of a game plan last week. The Saints are much better on defense than the Falcons. The secondary could take the ball away, so he could play worse. So, tough either way. I do think Dobbs could win with his legs. They do have those weapons out there, the Vikings, but the Saints secondary is very strong. I think the Vikings blitz and Brian Flores' defense could kind of make the Saints offense kind of go back to being somewhat stale. I think Taysom Hill will have a good game. That could be a guy that gives the Vikings defense some problems, but and the Vikings seem to do well. It's tough, though, because that was with Kirk Cousins. They seem to do very well against man coverage. They're like daring teams to run man coverage because the speed, the athleticism, the separators they have. And then even when Jefferson was out and like the 49ers game, they're just daring them to run man coverage, and they're doing it like crazy. Saints are very good on defense, but they're very predictable with their man coverage. They've always, under Dennis Allen for years and years, they've been a man coverage team. It's worked out for them, but I think the matchup actually kind of sides towards the Vikings, but it's a tough one. Saints are favored by a little bit. I'll take the Vikings 19-17 at home. If this was in New Orleans, I'd be taking the Saints, so that's kind of the difference maker there for me. We'll see. It should be fun, though. I like the Steelers a lot in this game. It's only a 3-point line. I know most Steelers games are usually pretty close, so that's the tricky part, and do they have enough offense? But I like them in this game. The Packers been struggling. They did beat the Rams 20-3 last week, but if you watch that game, it was probably close. Well, I guess you can argue that because if it wasn't for their weird turnovers, they had one super weird one, they probably would have won more comfortably, and at the end of the day, the score did show comfort, I suppose. But the game was just, they were letting the Rams stay in the game with their injuries and stuff, but then they pulled away. I'm just not in love with their offense recently. The Steelers defense makes plays. They get the job done. They're going to get after Jordan Love. Jordan Love's not going to be able to do a whole lot in this game. So I don't really trust them to score many points. That's kind of like a Packers game that we've been seeing around that 13-point mark. And remember, this is the second game back for Cam Hayward as well, the Steelers, so that helps, and that makes it tough for the Packers. Offensively, what I love is the Steelers got their run game going last week. Both Najee from the start, but Jaylen Warren throughout the game played very well, and that's against a stout Titans run defense. Been one of the best in football for years. The Packers' run defense struggles a bit, so they can continue to get the run game going. And those receivers, I think, will be able to do enough as well. Deontay Johnson's been playing pretty good since he's been back. George Pickens would like the ball more. I'm sure they'll be able to give him the ball more. Remember, no Rasul Douglas out there for a second week because he's with the Bills now. So, Steelers will do enough offensively, but 23-13 at home in Pittsburgh. They're a different team at home. I like the way they match up in this game. I like them winning by 10 points. I like that one a lot. Next, Titans Bucs. Yeah, I have this as my squeaker of the week. It's a toss-up who's going to win. And the line, I would agree with what they slapped on this one with the Bucs favored by 1. Titans +1 in Tampa because I have a 1-point squeaker. So wouldn't touch this one either. I'll make it against the spread pick at the end. I'll have the Bucs winning this game. If this was in Tennessee, I would definitely like the Titans, and I would like them by more than 1. They are a totally different team at home versus away. They are away in this one. That's really my deciding factor. I'll take the Bucs, but yeah, I mean, Will Levis could beat up the Bucs secondary. They're struggling right now. They'll either make a crazy play, like get their hands on the ball, or they'll give up a big play. So it's going to be, still learning a lot about Levis. I'm overall impressed with him because he kind of got thrown in there, and he looks pretty good, especially 2 games ago. So they should be able to do some damage through the air. Derrick Henry should be able to do some damage, but the Bucs aren't going to let you torch them on the ground. So I do like that part for the Bucs. It seems like you can throw on the Titans as well. I think Chris Godwin has a big game. Chris Godwin should be tough, and Mike Evans should have a solid game as well. Just too physical for those Titans corners. So, but I look out for Godwin. I think they'll do enough offensively. Maybe they create that 1 turnover. So I like the Bucs winning the game 24-23. But that game could go either way. That game could go either way there. If it was in Tennessee, I'd be very confident. It'd be totally different. So we will see. Niners, Jags, a game that can go either way, a tough one, 2 heavyweights, even though Niners very recently don't look like a heavyweight. I feel like they are one. They needed that bye week. Because they've been beat up. They're going to get some guys back. The Jags were winning, so you could argue they didn't need the bye week, but I think they needed it as well. Get some guys back, get some guys healthy, get that break, because they were kind of due for a loss. They struggled a little bit against the Steelers. They got the job done. I'm going to go Niners. This is tough. The matchup could say Jags because the Niners run a lot of man coverage, but I do think they're trying to switch that. I think they're trying to throw in more zone, so that could be kind of confusing. They had the bye week to kind of figure out and be like, okay, how do we go back to like last year's defense? Those types of coverages, what works for these players. So that's where I could argue against my matchup takes, but if they have been running a lot of man coverage more than the past this year, Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, these guys usually torch man coverage, so we'll see how much the Niners will be, how often they'll be in man. Niners look a little more vulnerable against the run this year, so ETN, who's been playing solid, could have a good game. And then defensively, the Niners usually win offensively with the run. So defensively for the Jags, they usually stop the run pretty well, and they create turnovers in the secondary, even though they give up big plays, but Purdy's been giving the ball away. So when you explain it that way, it sounds like Jags at home. I think the Niners will mix it up. I think they're going to throw some things at the Jags that really aren't on film, maybe on both sides of the ball. They got healthy. While they're on their 3-game losing streak, they were beat up. They were missing some key players. They're going to get those key players back, I would imagine. So don't see them losing 4 in a row. They can win the time of possession in this game. I will take them in a close one. I wouldn't bet on that one in terms of the line. I have the Jags covering because I only have them losing by 2. But 26-24 Niners is what I got. That should be the game of the week right there. Browns and Ravens. The Ravens beat them up good last time, but it was against DTR, rookie quarterback. Now Deshaun Watson's back, and he's been kind of up and down when he's been in there. I think he plays an okay game. I think a lot of defense in this one. Should be cold out there. Not freezing, but Ravens been balling, but they're due. They're due for like a hiccup, So I think it's going to be a little close. 6-point line. I got a 4-point game here. That's a tough one because I usually in these division games the second time, like if it's good teams, if it's a bad team, this doesn't really apply. But 2 good teams here. The second time around, the Browns lost last time. Now they have their quarterback. They probably adjust a little bit better and keep this game close. The Ravens didn't have to do a whole lot, even though Lamar played great last time. They didn't have to do a whole lot. But then again, the Browns are a really good defense, but they run more man coverage than anyone. It's really not what you want to run against the Ravens. So the matchup just sides with the Ravens. But I just think this stays close. Like one of those AFC North, cold weather starting to come. Not that's going to be freezing, but just physical, somewhat low scoring, stays somewhat close. So, but I will trust the Ravens for sure at home and them winning 20-16. Falcons Cardinals, first time picking the Cardinals this year. They're underdogs by 1.5. I have them winning by 3. I think totally different system. You can argue both sides of this, actually, but totally different system than last year. Kingsbury almost had a college, style, a lot of spread looks system, and now it's a West Coast offense with Kyler Murray. So, and why I said you can argue both sides, you could say, well, one, this is like nobody knows what's going to happen. Like, how do you game plan for Kyler Murray in this offense you have not seen him with? There's nothing on it. Nothing on it right now. So that's going to be tough for the Falcons to deal with. And then they really struggle with Dobbs, who was a former Cardinals quarterback, but besides the point, with his legs. So they might really struggle with Kyler Murray's legs. But that last system really fit Kyler Murray. This is more of a pro-style system now. So you could say he's not used to it. He's not, maybe he's not ready for it. He's been out for a bit. Maybe he struggles in it. Maybe he turns the ball over a bit. Maybe he's got to be more of a pocket passer rather than roll out and throw out there sometimes in the system. So maybe some passes get deflected, and they have in the past. So you could argue either side, but I think it's a tough challenge for the Falcons. I think, the Cardinals might be better the earlier games with Kyler Murray than the later games, actually, until people start to game plan for it. So I think it's a tough game plan right now. I think, again, that they struggle with Dobbs stopping his legs. I think they'll struggle with stopping Kyler Murray's. And the Cardinals play teams tough, especially early in games. So this game will probably stay close, but then I think the factor that, what's the answer to stop this offense that we know nothing about yet, like that should last all game. So I will take the Cardinals 26-23 at home with the Kyler Murray homecoming. Again, I'm expecting him to do, I'm expecting him to throw teams off. Like, what do we, it's a good time for him to play well. But we'll see. He's been out of football for a bit. Next, Lions-Chargers, which could be a good game. I'm going to go with the Lions winning and covering that spread, though, 27-23. The Chargers have been doing a fantastic job stopping the run recently, and that's what you have to do when you play against the Lions. we'll see. It's a true test because it's a different type of run game. Montgomery's going to be back. I think he'll be a little limited, though, but Montgomery and Gibbs, that's a different type of run game. I think the Lions get the best of that Chargers run defense, which is much improved, but it's a different challenge. Now, if the Chargers shut them down, I'm going to be like, wow, they're already impressive because where they came from, that is damn impressive, though. But I think the Lions can win on the ground. I think they can do enough through the air as well. How you beat the Lions, offensively is you throw the ball downfield on them. You get the ball downfield. We saw the Ravens did that as well. And the Chargers, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, they're very capable of doing that. They're just lacking other options down the field, though. If Mike Williams was playing in this game, I would have, maybe I would pick the Chargers because then you have another option. And Josh Palmer's not even playing in this game. So that is the issue. Like, finding how to beat your opponent. Do you have it all the way through the whole game here? So I'm going to trust the Lions 27-23, but this should be a really good game. I think a true test for both teams. How good are the Lions? Can they deal with solid teams? Are they as good as they were early in the season? At times it kind of felt like they were better earlier in the year than recently, but there's not enough there to tell. And the Chargers feel like they're better now, but can they deal with good teams like the Detroit Lions? So this should be a really good game. We're going to learn a lot from this game. So it's a big one to watch this weekend. Next, Giants and Cowboys, 16 spread. That is a lot. When it's that high, I usually go with the underdog, but I don't know if the Giants will score. I thought about 0 or 3 points here, but went with 6. This either could be a late touchdown. Maybe they try to go for 2, they don't get it, or it can be 2 field goals, so I felt pretty good about 6 against a really good defense, and Tommy DeVito's is not able to do anything at all, really, so they might get something late where the Cowboys should have success on offense. I thought about in the 30s, but they won't really need to push on the gas too much. And the Cowboys do seem to do better against zone coverages. The Giants do run man. So could the Giants defense played very well against the Bills. It did not play well last week, but it played well against the Bills. It played well against the Jets. It should. So maybe it plays a little better than expected in this game. So maybe it's, maybe we drop that Cowboys score down, but they might score on defense, and they're going to set their offense up on defense as well. So the offense should have a solid game as it is. So 27-6 Cowboys is what I have. Maybe the lock of the century. It'd be pretty bad if the Giants won. I would look like an idiot. Commanders, Seahawks, this is a trick. This is another one I just would not touch. If we're talking about putting money on it, I would not touch this one. It's a 6-point line. I have the Seahawks winning by 7. I played around with different scenarios when coming up with the score. And the Seahawks should win this game. It could be a trap game, but there is a scenario where the Seahawks win by 3 points. Because what are either of these teams' identities? What are their identities? So we're still consistent identities. We're still trying to figure that out in week 10 because last year Seahawks were all offense, explosive offense, terrible defense. Beginning of this year seemed like the same thing. Then all of a sudden something clicked, and it makes sense with the defense because they had a lot of young players that were getting better and better. I love the direction they're heading. So the defense became pretty damn good, and the offense kind of went to shit. So they're more of a defensive team. But they were neither team against the Ravens. So what are they in a game like this? I think the defense will play a solid game because the defense has been playing solid this year. They create turnovers, and the Commanders give the ball away a bit. So the Seahawks should make plays on defense. But here's an opportunity. The Commanders without pass rushers because they traded them, and it's a defense that could give up some big plays. This is an opportunity for Geno and the boys to get going. I think Kenneth Walker has a pretty solid game. I don't know if they're crazy explosive. I can see a scenario where they score 17 points. I can see a scenario where they score 31. I'm not counting on them to be that explosive. So 24 is what I came up with. The Commanders, they're like every other as well, and the offense-defense is really never on the same page. I actually thought last week maybe it might have been, besides the turnovers, mainly the turnover in the red zone, I should say, in the end zone. But a little bit of both of them last week. They did play the Patriots, but they're capable of being much more explosive than 17 points. But I think they will be explosive, but they'll also turn the ball over in this game. So this is still kind of learning about these teams. We know what they're about, though. We know who's good on their team, who's not. What they're gonna do. Are they better at doing this, that? What tier of football they're in, how good the team is. But we really still are learning what is truly their identities, and can they stay consistent enough to play better football. So I'll go Seahawks 24, Commanders 17, but that should be an interesting game. Sunday night, Jets at Raiders. Raiders very impressive last week. The Jets maybe played their worst game of the year. But I'm going to go with the Jets. I think sometimes teams fire their coaches and they have a fire lit, underneath them and they get going. That was last week's game and they could still have that fire. They definitely could. It's a totally different matchup than last week. At first glance, it could look like they're playing the same team because the Giants are all defense, no offense. That's what the Jets are. But we know it's going to be a defensive game. It's a totally different defense, the Jets and the Giants. Giants are all man covers. The Jets are all zone. Why more teams run more zone than man is because it is more difficult for quarterbacks and receivers and really everybody on the offense to dissect, and it really throws off the quarterbacks unless they're the best of the best. So Aiden O'Connell, a rookie quarterback, I think will have struggles with Robert Saleh's zone defense, or I should say Ulbricht's defense as well. So I think the Jets will win with defense. And I think the Raiders' defense will play well. Max Crosby should have a boatload of sacks on Zach Wilson. This is gonna be a defensive game. I think we can see some defensive touchdowns by both teams in this game. So I'm gonna trust the Jets. The Jets defense a little more complex and it's better. So it's going against a rookie quarterback. So that is my difference in this one. But it is in Vegas. They're coming off a good one. I'll take the Jets 16 to 13. Then Monday night, I like the Bills in this one. I actually have them scoring 30, which might be a little bold because, one, they've been struggling a little bit lately. They've been underwhelming, and the Broncos have been playing great defense. I'm impressed. I've been a huge Baron Browning fan. Everyone's got to love Surtain, Simmons, these guys. So defense is night and day. It's definitely better, But I'm kind of predicting that they, not go back to like giving up 70 points. But I'm kind of predicting it in a game like this to kind of look a little bit more like it was earlier in the year. A couple things. They do seem to, they have a home field advantage. They're away from home in this game. It's in Buffalo, prime time. That's a tough place to play. But while the Broncos, why does everyone say the Broncos defense has been playing better? And it has been, but it's been over the what span of games? The last three games, and they've played two teams in those last three games. Yes, the Chiefs were two of those teams, and the first time is even debatable. The Chiefs moved the ball with ease; they just end up getting field goals. But it seemed like they had a plan for the Chiefs, and the Bills are pretty similar, style of offense, but the difference is the type of receivers. They haven't really seen the Bills receivers in those last two games. So I think Stephon Diggs, huge game. Dalton Kincaid might be tough to deal with. I think the Chiefs game, it's like let's have a game plan for Kelsey, and then boom, let's take care of the rest. And the other game was the Packers. So this one is a whole different. It's not in Denver. It's in Buffalo, prime time, Monday Night Football. I think Josh Allen wins with his legs, but mainly I think Stephon Diggs wins, and I think Kincaid could have a solid game here. But they did good against Kelsey, but it's because the focus was on him because that's really all it had to be on. It's a little different against the Bills, even though the Chiefs are better. So I'm going to trust them. The Broncos offense be all right. I don't know if there's enough. They do rely on having the run to control the clock and open up the pass. They have to have a lead for that. And the run absolutely has to work. So I think it'll be okay. I think they'll be playing from down. So I don't think that will work. The more I'm talking about that aspect of it, the more I'm thinking maybe 17. Maybe they score less than 17. So I could see around, even 27-16, somewhere around there as well. It kind of makes some sense, but I think kind of a breakout. The Bills seem to do this every year, and then they kind of get going when they're ready for playoffs. This year could be different because they are pretty hurt. They're depleted. Maybe depleted's a little strong, but not really, because even some guys are playing hurt, so I guess we can't say depleted, but it's obvious that they're missing key guys on defense, but Von Miller revenge game, I guess, but I will go with the Bills. I'm feeling them 30-17. They are favored by a whopping 7.5, but I do think they cover. So going over my against spread picks on the year, we've done pretty good, 76-56. Sometimes I do change my pick leading up, or tweak it. We only made that extra video once because it was a boatload I changed, but Twitter or in the comment section of this video is kind of where if it's just one or two things I tweak, I change. So my record on the year 76-56. That if you look at all the experts on which pick watch has that keeps track, that record would be 7th. So pretty good. I have the Panthers +4. I think they can win the game. So getting 4 points is pretty solid, but they are missing key guys. The Bears seem to play pretty well on Thursday Night Football. We'll see if Justin Fields plays. The Colts -1.5. Could be a trap game, but they're better than the Patriots. They should win and win by more than one. Texans +7. I would not touch that game. I have the Bengals winning by 6. The Vikings +2.5. Probably one I wouldn't touch, but they're getting 2.5 points. Wish it was 3. Steelers -3 I like. It's probably I do my locks video every Thursday. That's going to be up there. I like the Steelers -3. Bucs -1. Probably one I wouldn't touch because I actually have them winning by 1, but I have them winning the game. I'll take them against the spread, and the matchup favors them a little bit at home. Jacksonville +3. Wouldn't touch that one. I have the Niners winning by 2. But I guess Jacksonville's home. They're a really good team. Parts of the matchup favors them. So if you like the Jags, you think they're going to win? +3 looks pretty good. Browns +6. Probably another one I wouldn't touch. I'm not as scared of it as some of the other ones I mentioned that for, but it's one of those AFC North battles that should stay somewhat close, but I do like the Ravens in that one. And the rest of them, the Cardinals, I have winning by 3, and they're getting 1.5. It is a little tough because how will Kyler Murray be in this pro-style offense? Still a little bit up in the air, but I like the matchup problem for the Falcons, so in the favor of the Cardinals. Lions, I think, cover that 2.5. It is a little tricky because Herbert could have a day, but I think the Lions run well in this game. They got that extra break, too, compared to the Chargers. Lions were on a bye. The Chargers just played. That was Monday Night Football, so that favors the Lions as well. Cowboys, I wouldn't touch it because it's just such a big spread, but there's a chance the Giants don't score, so there's that. Cowboys will score on offense and maybe defense. Seahawks -6, another one I definitely would not touch. Definitely would not touch that one. It's a weird game. Could be a 3-point game, could be a 17-point game. So Jets -1 should stay close. We know it's going to be a defensive game. The Jets don't have Max Crosby, but they do have the better defense, the more confusing, complex defense for a rookie quarterback. So I do like the Jets defense. And the 7.5's a lot, but I like the Bills in that one. The matchup favors them. This is their time to break out. It's home on Monday Night Football. The Broncos need to run to kind of control the clock and get going. And they could do that, but if they're not down, but they're going to be down in this game. This one really favors the Bills, winning pretty big. But they have been struggling. They've been missing some guys, but I think Josh Allen, I think mainly Diggs has a huge game, but I'm sure Tan could be on them all game, but the Broncos don't run only man coverage. Vance Joseph runs zone. But Josh Allen should do some damage with his legs in this one if they decide to run him. He really should do some damage. But he does have a hurt shoulder, so I guess that's the question there. But the matchup favors Buffalo in Buffalo on Monday Night Football. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this one. We're back every single week with this video. We have straight up picks on the channel already. That goes up every week. We have loads of content here at the Goat House. You will not be disappointed in it. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, follow us on Twitter. Very importantly, spin in the comments for that. Anything else you're looking for. It's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.